From AI to the deep state, Michel Foucault foresaw it all. In 1969, the French philosopher gave a lecture titled "What is an Author?" long before the machine learning engines that now dominate our screens. He imagined a future where language could circulate without a single author attached, a culture of pervasive anonymity. For Foucault, language was not a neutral tool, it was a mechanism of power that shapes what we think and acts, and it determines what we can know. He coined the term author function and argued that it was a legal trick that allowed society second to hold a single individual accountable for ideas deemed dangerous. That accountability, he believed, was a tool of social control, a way to limit the free flow of meaning by pinning it to one person, the author. He said that the author can be held responsible, even punished, for dangerous or objectionable ideas. Fast forward to today, with generative AI sweeping the globe, the authorless discourse Foucault imagined is a reality. Yet what we see is not liberation. Instead, it is dominated by a handful of chatbots run by secretive, billionaire-owned corporations that can be manipulated for political ends. In a world that might have seemed to offer freedom, power has moved into new forms. Foucault would let it be because power is, for him, inescapable. His legacy is a double-edged sword, a vision that eerily predicts the present, yet warns that progress and freedom can be illusory, subject to the overhead of power. Now, this year marks the centenary of Foucault's birth, 42 years after his premature death from AIDS in 1984. Despite his passing, he remains the world's most cited thinker, with more than 1.4 million citations to his name. As of last year, only one other person, Yoshua Bengio, a Montreal computer scientist, has crossed the million citation mark, and he is still living. That sheer influence speaks to the breadth and force of Foucault's ideas, which sagaciously resonate with our high-tech surveillance culture, public health measures, and the way we think about sexuality and trust. He posed questions about the modes of existence of discourse. His famous lecture digged into where it comes from, how it flows, and most importantly, who controls it. These questions still apply today, as we navigate a world where content can be generated by systems that are complex and opaque. The rise of large language models has put power in the hands of a few corporations, making the author invisible but not absent. For everyone from policymakers to everyday users, the issue is whether a new form of surveillance and manipulation has replaced the old checks and balances of authorial responsibility. Foucault's paranoia about the ways in which knowledge becomes a tool of power seems more prophetic now than it was in the 70s. He might have called the new models machines of inscription, where the imperative to find an anchor on which to hold accountability changes so that it moves from the individual to the algorithm. And just as he warned about how legal frameworks can be co-opted by power structures, so too do we see regulatory lags lagging behind AI's rapid advance. In short, Michel Foucault's teaching on authorship, power, and the circulation of discourse gives us lenses to examine AI and the deep state of the age. He saw a future devoid of a single author and one where the mechanisms of empowerment and subjugation would transform in subtle ways that we are still learning to understand. His centennial reminds us that the problems he identified persist. The question now is, do we wield this new technology to democratize knowledge, or do we let it fall into the hands of a few who know how to wield its power? Thank you for joining me on this exploration of history's uncanny prediction of our present. Stay curious, stay mindful, and as always, stay tuned for our next journey into the past and future of ideas.